What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for a discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Van Aken, and today I'm joined by Marcus Stewart. How you doing, Marcus?
I'm drowning, Alex.
Yeah, me too.
You throw me a life raft because there's so many video games.
I don't have one myself. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
we'll go down together, I guess. You know. I
guess that's the alternative. If you're gonna have to drown, pull someone down with you.
As a kid, I was always terrified of drowning, and I tried to imagine myself in the James Bond. There's that one James Bond film where they share air together underwater by holding their breath and then blowing it into the other person's mouth. You know what I'm talking about?
That sounds vaguely familiar. Is that a Pierce Brosnan one?
Yes.
Is it Die Another Day?
It might be, yeah. And I was
always Halle Berry is
curious. I was curious if I could survive underwater like that. And I think ultimately I decided I could not.
Yeah, I don't think that makes any sense.
I would imagine, unless you really lip lock, you'd probably lose 50% of your oxygen and minimal.
Yeah.
And hasten your demise.
But, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
We're also joined by Charles Harte. How you doing, Charles?
I'm doing good, but I mean we're all drowning. What is this? Cauldron Lake?
Well, yeah. What is this? Some kind of AWE?
Some kind of
Oh, I think you're trying to say AEW. I was like, what? You're talking about wrestling now?
Yes, it's very much like Cauldron Lake. The darkness is at the bottom of the lake. I think that's I watched an Alan Wake recap recently.
Wait. I thought it wasn't a lake, but it was an ocean.
Oh shoot, you're right.
He do be saying that.
Yeah. Lastly, we are rounded out by Blake Hester. How you doing, Blake?
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
Why'd you just slam that book?
I've been reading the next great piece of literature from one Alan Wake. Commit to the bit. No,
That's
it's
funny.
Lily Ann Jackson Braun, the cat who wasn't there.
Okay, I was close.
Nope. Not at all.
In the title.
We are going to be talking about Alan Wake 2 today, if people haven't figured that out. We're also going to talk Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Spider-Man 2, Party Animals, and we're going to answer a bunch of listener questions. Blake's, if you're watching the video version, you can see Reagan, a very blurry Reagan.
Hey, this is Reagan's month because she's named after the Exorcist girl. It's spooky season. Blake, have you seen the new Exorcist movie? And if so, did you bring Reagan?
Marcus, I'm glad you asked. We're now going to divert 20 minutes of this podcast to The Exorcist Believer. Here's the thing. One, I did not bring Reagan. That would be a nightmare.
Do you think she'd be scared if you brought her?
In the sense that she's scared anytime she goes outside the house, yes.
Okay.
But I have seen Exorcist Believer, the new film from David Gordon Green, an enemy of art everywhere. It's a bad movie. What do you want me to say? It's a bad movie. It fundamentally misunderstands what makes The Exorcist interesting. Spoilers, it's not a little girl who's possessed. That's just the catalyst of the action, not the central focus of the movie. But it is what it is. Movie came out and it was bad. We're all moving on. Everyone's who's like, it ruined the franchise. It's not true. You still go watch the old movie. It still exists, believe it or not.
There's multiple Exorcist sequels too that are of questionable quality.
However, everyone always says that, but what they miss is there's one Exorcist sequel that is a stone cold bona fide banger classic. And
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
The Haunting of Emily Rose.
Not an Exorcist movie, but sure.
Wait, no, there's no exorcism in that?
I mean, it's not part of the franchise.
It's not The Exorcist, though.
I thought it was like The Exorcist :
No.
The Haunting of Emily Rose.
First off, that's not even the name of the movie. It's The Exorcism of Emily Rose. That's a good movie. But no, The Exorcist 3, a banger. Exorcist Believer, it's bad, but who cares? It's over. It doesn't matter.
I will say I went to the Halloween Horror Nights house for it, and it was the scariest house of all the ones that I did.
This weekend will be going to the Museum of Motion Pictures in Queens, New York to see their Exorcist exhibit, and I'm very excited.
Oh, you said to see their exorcist, like they have a resident exorcist on staff for some reason.
You get to watch a live exorcism.
No.
That is art.
No.
Is that art?
No.
To someone, it probably is.
I would say exorcisms are generally crimes. That's tend to be what they are.
Interesting.
What
Yeah.
Are you Satan?
No, I mean like exorcism.
You're evicting a perfectly innocent ghost. It just needs a body to live in.
They cover this in the original Exorcist from 1973, but exorcism fell out of favor as modern science learned that mental illness existed, and a lot of exorcisms that happened would lead to severe like starvation or dehydration or physical injury or death of people because they needed actual medical help, not the help of a priest. And so now sometimes you hear about like these idiot exorcists who are like, I'm going to exorcise this kid. The kid will die or be severely injured and they go to jail because that's an irresponsible thing to do. So I don't consider it art. I consider it a felony.
Well,
anyway,
speaking of felonies,
Alex is trying to exercise in this conversation.
Really good.
Speaking of felonies, that landlord in Alan Wake 1 should probably get a felony.
Landlord?
When they go to the cabin and nobody's there, you know?
Oh, yeah, the
Alex,
Cynthia.
Yeah.
you want me to take over here? You want me to tag me in? Tag me in.
Please.
Just tag me in real quick. All right, so moving on with the show, Marcus, Charles, myself, we've all been playing Alan Wake 2. Alex, I'll give it back to you there so that we got through that segue.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, we've all been playing Alan Wake 2, as Blake suggested, except for me because I have not played.
It's not a suggestion.
As Blake explicitly stated. Who wants to start? I'm very curious about this game. I'll tell you this. I don't know anything about this game, all right? And I've been keeping it that way. But from what I've seen from like a couple of the screenshots and seen it in motion and trailers, looks pretty freaking sick.
I mean, did you play the first game? You know about Alan Wake, right?
I know about Alan Wake. I know the story and I know the general. I was around. My friends played Alan Wake. I have a respect for the series. I never played it myself, but I've of course been aware of forever of like the flashlight mechanic and the light and dark, and that's been like a whole, mechanic that I think has been well documented as like something that Alan Wake did coolly. Sorry, I'm vamping because my headphones unplugged and I can't hear you if you're speaking to me. Yeah. But I'm gonna give it to Charles, who's raising his hand.
Very polite.
Nice. What's up with Alan Wake 2?
Thank you. Well, I wanted to start because I think I know the second least about it, so I can introduce it and then Marcus and Blake can give more detailed account. I recently played the first Alan Wake to prepare for this one, and also because I kind of just wanted, I don't know, it just felt like the vibe. I played it, I beat it, I wasn't crazy about it, and most of the stuff I wasn't crazy about was just stuff of the era, where I was like, I would really like this if it was done with like a modern 2023 level of like writing and just presentation, and some of the mechanics felt kind of weird when I played it. And so I started this, and it just like immediately it just feels so much better. So that was a relief, and I'm very much into it. But it takes place 13 years after the first game. After the events of the first game, they keep referring to the year 2010, and I'm not at a point where they've connected it to the character Alan Wake yet, but
they keep bringing up like
2010 is when that first game came out.
Yes.
So that's the connection.
It's also one of the greatest years of all time for video game releases. Like, it's up there with when people rank years, and I think that's the reason. Oh yeah. But one of the early mysteries is they're like, hey, people went missing in Bright Falls around in 2010. What's up with that? And I like to think it's because there were so many great games that people just
locked themselves away.
I like that Marcus really doubled down on that being a great year for the purpose of his bit.
Yeah,
this guy's been missing for 13 years.
Because I don't remember 2010 being a great year.
Still playing Mass Effect 2 and Super Mario Galaxy 2. Red Dead Redemption was that year. They're like, why would you leave your house when you had all these great games?
Yep. All right.
But yeah, this game, you start out at least playing as Saga Anderson, FBI agent who's come to Bright Falls to investigate a series of murders who they believe to be a serial killer, but it's more than it seems.
It always is.
It always is. And one of the things that bothered me about the first Alan Wake is it reminded me of a bunch of I did like a Stephen King class in college where we read a bunch of Stephen King books, and there's a trend in a lot of that stuff where it starts out and the horror is just a big mystery and you don't know anything. And just a thing that always bothers me is you get thrown into a story and it's like, oh, this thing happened and this thing happened and no one knows what's happening. And it just like annoys me not being cued into what's going on. What I liked about this so far is Saga is like actively investigating what's going on. And so you're like literally putting clues up on the wall and like making conclusions. And I feel a lot more like active in investigating what's actually going on. And then also just from the knowledge of the past game, I have like inferences of what's going on. Yeah, I'll tap someone in.
I'll pick up the baton for doing like a relay race.
One more
kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, like we were talking off air, but Charles and we're pretty much at the same point in the story, like very early. Like we're both in the second chapter. Neither of us have gotten to play as Alan yet because the game starts with Saga. So I guess if we're counting what I played in the preview trip, which was like, I think like chapter 3-ish for both characters, I guess, could lump that in there too. Yeah. I will say from like my early impressions, what I like about this game is that it within the first hour, it's probably scarier than the entirety of the first game. And, by design, like the first game, at least to me, like it was never a straight up horror game. It was like more suspense thriller that kind of like nudged up against horror, but at least for me, never like crossed over where I was just like, oh, this is unsettling, but I'm not like, oh my God. Yeah. Whereas within the first hour or so of Alan Wake 2, there were a lot more moments of like, oh, I don't like that. that's creepy, whether it be like jump scare stuff or like the first real fight that you get into is like probably creepier again than anything in the first game, where it's like, oh, okay.
The opening 10 minutes is also a lot.
Yeah.
Draw the curtains for that one. Like,
yeah, the first,
it's not even, yeah.
First, maybe like, yeah, you said 10, maybe like 5-10 minutes of Alan Wake 2, not safe for work and not in the way that you might think, just in a like, I almost was thinking in my mind of like, how many games have started us in this situation where you are a character in this? Like, can we say it's because it's like the very beginning of the game?
I think we keep it a mystery.
Okay, we'll keep it a mystery. All right. The game will be out tomorrow or the 27th, Friday by the time this airs. So like, one day left. I don't know if they're doing any sort of early access thing for this, but yeah, it was one of those things where I was just like, oh, this is okay. This is a start. But yeah, like I like that. Like Remedy has said that they're going straight like hard survival horror with this game. Blake, I'm curious to hear your thoughts because you've seen a lot more of it than either of us in terms of like how that progresses and evolves. But I like that it's scarier this time just because I like horror games and I'm looking for something spooky to play right now in October, which is why I was glad when this got a late October release date. So I'm digging that. Everything else so far, like the investigative study saga, it's still opening up, for me. I will say I spent an inordinate amount of time in that first section exploring, trying to find all those damn lunch boxes. Like, which pro tip, by the way, maybe we could write this down or whatever, but like when you're playing that opening section, you can completely abandon everyone you're with, like go explore. They'll wait for you, like literally like mid conversation, you can just walk away and they'll pick it right up, which I did pretty much immediately because just I was curious and I was like, oh, there's all this open space, but like they're walking down here. And it's like, I kind of want to see what's down this forest path. Can I just go do that? And the answer is yes, just go do it. And you probably should, because you'll miss some collectibles if you maybe just only mainline it. And I like that. I like having that the area is a little bit more. No, it's not open world or anything close to it, but like, kind of like open hubs. Yeah, where they're kind of exploring. You're like, hey, you should go poke around. There's some notes here that you're gonna miss. Like I said, collectibles or like puzzles to find like stashes and stuff. Like that part of my brain that wants to collect everything kicked in immediately, where I was like scouring every inch of that place and even just finding cool little I guess sort of like some foreshadowing for what might come later in terms of like locked areas or even just like references to like, I mean, this isn't a spoiler because they've already said this, but like, the Federal Bureau of Control is, here early on. So like seeing some of that sort of pop up, you're like, okay, I'm curious to see more of them. It's kind of cool to see them this early, but yeah, like I said, I'm enjoying it. I'm liking the tone and sort of the investigative stuff with Saga so far. But Blake, I'm going to pass the baton to you because you are infinitely farther than all of us. So.
Yeah, what's up? Charles, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
What year were you born?
I think
I don't remember. Can you just tell me? It's very important.
2000.
So I've been playing Remedy's games for literally as long as Charles has been alive. The Max Payne came out in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Remedy stand number 1. Love all their games, even Quantum Break. What an underrated game.
Dude, that game rules.
It's so good. The TV show was pretty mid, but the gameplay was out of control.
Can you say that, by the way, Time Knife in Quantum Break is the best series of audio or like notes I've ever seen in the game.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that, but
So of course, Alan Wake 2, prime for me. I was so excited, and I'm really taken by the game. I think as a Remedy fan, bringing that up, like, I think Remedy is kind of doing its version of the MCU, but because Remedy makes intelligent, thoughtful stories, like the way it references its extended universe in this game is like really fascinating, and I feel like has made this entire experience very rewarding as someone who like follows them and like the subtle winks and nudges at like, be like, remember this thing from 20 years ago? You remember it? And it's like, you know what? I do remember that. I remember my dad had the burnt CD of Max Payne 1 and we would play it. Sorry, Sam Lake. I'm sure you're listening, but I bootlegged your game as a child. Max Payne 2 as well. I had that Mona Sax mod. You know the one. But I think the thing that most interests me about this game is like, I don't find it particularly scary. I think like for all the talk they did of it being a survival horror game, I don't like outside of the opening. I think it kind of becomes a one-trick pony of really good atmosphere, but then just like jump scares. And it's like, well, okay, it is what it is. The thing I'm most like impressed with and taken by this game, Alex, are you listening?
Yep.
Wait, was that a pun, by the way?
No.
I was going to ask, you said you've used the word taken twice.
Oh, no, that's good though. Is like the incredibly strong creative and artistic vision of this game. And I was talking to a friend who's also playing this, and we were talking about how like when we play video games, we don't care, or not, it's not that we don't care, but we never think about like the way a shot is composed in a video game, or like the lens they're trying to mimic or use, or the narrative pacing, which is insane when you think about it, because AAA video games, which is what this is a AAA game, not only ideally would be mechanically interesting, but they would be narratively interesting. And oftentimes they're just not. Like video games usually have very poor pacing. Even stories I love, like the Ryuga Gotoku games, whose stories I think are some of the best in games, have it's like no one has ever heard of the idea of pacing. Or like The Last of Us Part 2, which is a big budget story driven game I adore. I would not say it's a visually interesting game aside from it has good graphics, you know what I'm saying? But like playing this, I'm like, oh, that's a really fascinating way to like compose this shot, to like express what Alan is going through or how Saga is seeing the world. And there's so much care put into like the way the story is told and how they're pacing like horror and then comedy and then like the kind of hard-boiled thrills versus like the reprieve of the story where you have a second to take a breath. And
real quick, have you guys watched the I mean, Blake, you probably have, but Charles, have you seen the the Koluski brothers, those commercials?
Yeah, they're really good.
They're really good.
So
they're
what?
Really fun.
There's some Finnish brothers you can hear have commercials around the town, and you can meet one of them.
They're like live action commercials. They're very funny. Yeah. You should seek them out. Yeah.
But I think all that stuff like makes this feel like a piece of art, which like I've been playing a lot of games recently, a lot of very expensive games that just feel like commercial products with the edges sanded off, like Spider-Man 2, which we'll talk about, a game I think I like. There's no friction to the game. It's just like focus tested to be this like constant drip feed of like serotonin to make you feel good. Like, there's nothing really interesting about the game. I think the story's pretty bad because it just wants you to kind of like be like, oh, that's a G. Willikers Peter Parker the whole time. And this game is constantly like throwing
that should have
things.
been the title of our Spider-Man 2 review.
Honestly,
G. Willikers Peter Parker.
Honestly, I every moment in that game, I thought Peter Parker was 1 second away from saying G. Willikers. That is one of the most obnoxious characters in video games. Miles Morales rocks. Peter Parker, get him out of my face. I hate that man so much. His girlfriend, Mary Jane, boring as the day is long. Harry, I don't care. I just don't care. Anyway, but like comparing that against this game, because I just recently played Spider-Man, it's like, it's such a captivating product and like something I want to be invested in. Like the second I was done with Spider-Man, it was like out of my head forever. You know, Assassin's Creed, I played the opening hour of that new one, and it was just like, it seemed to have no thought put into like, how do we engage the player in this world and in this story? And Alan Wake 2, it feels like they spent the last 13 years, because this is their second attempt at making this sequel. You can read that they've been very public about the canceled sequel. Seems like they never stopped thinking about like the scenes of this game, how to make you care about this game, how to make it worthwhile to participate in the same way like a well-written book, you know, because pun intended, or a well-crafted piece of radio or film, like brings you into its world and has you understand the character. I don't know anything about like Peter Parker other than he's a dork. Alan Wake and Saga, it's like I feel like I know them intimately within 5 hours, and I'm just like, I'm fascinated by it. I think this is like an incredibly commendable piece of like art and video game making. I think this is like, Remedy has been knocking it out of the park since Max Payne 1. I haven't played Death Rally. Maybe they knocked it out of the park then, but who knows? I think this is like just showing nearly 30 years of like expertly crafted video games like in 2023. So my hat's off to the team. This is incredible. I'm only like 6-7 hours into it. Maybe it's going to the bed shortly thereafter, and I'll have to come on next week and be like, this game is dog crap. But up to this point, it's game pretty damn good. If you ask me, 7 out of 10, rent don't buy.
You real quick, since you're that far in the game, have you had a chance to mess around with like switching between the two characters? And
I just unlocked that, and I chose to not do it because this wouldn't be a spoiler. I did the whole Alan section, and it was really long. The first Alan section, and I just got back to Saga, and when you come back to Saga, you get the chance to switch characters.
Okay.
And I just haven't done it because it's like I want to hang out with Saga for a little while. Okay. I will say, if I may, the vague as possible, when the game switches to Alan and you play the Alan section for the first time, my hat's off to Saga. A lot of amazing stuff in that opening Saga section. The Alan stuff is firing on all cylinders in a way you would not believe. There's some stuff they do with Sam Lake, who is face scanned into this game. That's not a spoiler. Sam Lake being the original, being the co-founder or founder of Remedy, the creative director and writer of a lot of these projects. But importantly to this, the face model for the original Max Payne. There's some stuff they do with that is like all time. Like that dude was writing his ass off and making fun of himself in a really key way. So that Alan stuff is crazy.
Yeah, I love
the
Alan stuff that I played at in Los Angeles for that preview event was like phenomenal. But yeah, that's the one. Oh, were you gonna say about?
Well, I was just gonna say not to just focus on Alex. I feel like I skipped over Saga. Like her stuff is awesome too. Like building out these case files and like taping things to the wall and putting it together and like psychologically profiling because she's like a psychic or some shit. The game is not really that.
Which I'm glad early on I'm like, wait, is she a psychic? And
yeah,
is she just really good at her job? But then
the game is like super not interested in really caring about it. It's like, she's psychic, just accept it. Can we move on?
I was happy when other characters were as like weirded out by that too. Of like, how could you know that?
the thing that's funny about Alan Wake is he's a dork. Like he's like canonically a hack writer, and he's just like an idiot. He's just bumbling his way through writing his dumb Stephen King ripoff.
Wait, more dorky than Peter Parker? What's the scale?
Well, dorky in a good way. Peter Parker's like an annoying dork. Alan Wake's like an endearing dork.
You'd be really good friends with Flash Thompson, Blake.
I don't know who that is.
A bully?
Who's Flash Thompson?
He's the guy that always bullies Peter Parker.
He becomes Venom at one point.
Oh, well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that arc in the comics eventually. I think Saga is like a really great foil to him because she's like very like confident and smart, and Alan's like, oh, I don't know how semicolons work.
Been trapped in this place for 13 years.
Yeah, Saga's like, I'm capable. I'm not the dumbest man who's ever lived. Sorry, you got trapped under a freaking cabin, you dumbass. They're great two characters together. I love them.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to see since you were talking about the story pacing, because that's like how switching the characters affects that. Because that's the biggest question mark I've had about this game. Because they haven't really shown it like live. And the demo that I played, we didn't get to do that. They were just very separated sections between the two.
What I can say about it without having actually done it firsthand is it's thus far not something like a GTA 5 or Spider-Man 2 where you're more or less free to do it whenever. There's like a specific location you have to go to do it. So it's not like you're like in the middle of doing something with Saga and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to jump to Alan. Like you would have to get all the way back to kind of the hub area to actually switch. So I wonder if that's how they're trying to be mindful of pacing, where it's like you're not like leaving Saga in the rising action or the falling action. Like you have to finish an arc then to switch. Does that make sense?
That's what I'm wondering too, because I asked them that of like, if I decided to play only as Alan for like an extended period, and if I jump back to Saga, will her story advance in the background where she's suddenly in a situation that I have no context for because time, continued, or is she going to be right where I left her, even though Alan is like way further ahead, so to speak? And they made it sound like it would be the latter of like, no, they'll always be where you left them.
I mean, I would assume so. That would be like bad storytelling to be like, all right, the story's going to continue without you.
I mean, like, yeah, that makes sense. But just like, if you're doing that by the nature of like, if their stories are intertwined, do they have to kind of keep pace for that to make sense narratively of like, if Alan takes a step that affects Saga in some way?
I understand what you're saying, but like GTA 5 and Miles Morales do the same thing, and like they didn't like.
I think it's easier because those are like open worlds where it's like it's just a big sandbox, and they're all roaming around, and maybe this makes it easier for me to understand that. But like with this, where they're like in two completely separate, basically universes, honestly, and you don't see them together. That's why I'm having a harder time sort of like trying to wrap my brain around like, well, how can you do that in a way that makes sense, and doesn't.
Listener, the game's out tomorrow, so play through, figure it out, then email Marcus Stewart at GameInformer.com and tell him how they figured it out. So we're speculating about a game that comes out tomorrow. We just figured it out.
I mean, I'll probably have my answer by the time this airs. Keep playing more. But that is the biggest thing that I've been wanting to know about this game. And I was wondering, I thought it would be sooner that they give you control, but then again, I guess I've been with Saga for a while, and it doesn't seem like Alan's happening anytime soon. It's just where I'm at. So I guess 6-7 hours makes sense, especially if I'm spending so much time trying to explore every nook and cranny to find stuff. So it probably take me 10 hours before I get to switch characters.
Yep.
Okay.
Game rocks though. Shuts out.
I'm excited to play it. Do you guys want to talk about anything else before we move on to Super Mario Bros. Wonder?
I have one more thing.
Yeah.
And it's just a thing to keep an ear out for.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the actress that plays Saga is British.
Yes.
And she's doing an American accent.
Yes.
And there are some times where you can hear, like, she has a hard time saying the name Anderson.
Charles, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. I just a thing sometimes you'll hear, and it's a little bit off. She's like, hey, what's going on? My name is Saga Anderson. And it's like, that's not, that was kind of weird, but that's
how her family says it.
Anderson.
Yeah.
It works though in the like weird Lynchian world they got going, you know what I'm saying? Like people got weird voices in Alan Wake inherently.
God, Charles, you got me thinking now, because they had at the event, they had a live panel with like the cast there, and she was there talking for extended period. I'm trying to remember, like, was she British?
I looked it up, and I admittedly didn't look very far. I Googled it, and then Google auto-populated the name, and then I pasted it into the box, and it said they were British.
Wait, it's Janina Gavankar.
Sure. No, Janina doesn't play Saga. Janina plays a different character.
Oh, my bad. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. I was like, Janina was there. I mean, but
okay,
Melanie Liburd.
She was born in Hertfordshire, dumbass
Hertfordshire,
England.
That is
English.
that sounds like a fake British town that you
Yeah.
to make fun of.
So she is English. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did some investigative journalism.
Hertfordshire? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know.
Hertfordshire.
Yeah, I feel like you added syllables.
Blake's
Hertfordshire.
literally in Kentucky.
Yeah,
So-
dude. I don't recognize the UK as a real place. Idiot country.
It's
The only
my
UK
family.
I know is the University of Kentucky,
right.
baby.
I've got a friend in Hertfordshire. No, I can't even say it.
No, you
Hertfordshire.
don't. No,
Yes,
you
I-
don't. This is like
and
in
my
middle school.
family-
No.
I got lunch with
Hertford-
him in London. He's a real person. I have a
Why'd
friend
you have
in
lunch with him in
Hertfordshire.
Yeah, why don't you go to Hertfordshire, the dummy
Because
town?
he was coming to me because I was visiting my family in London. Yeah, Blake, I've got family in London. I know how to pronounce Hertfordshire.
Yeah. I'm
You're doing a
really,
great job of it.
I'm really
Hertfordshire.
convinced, Alex. I'm really convinced right now.
Yeah. Ask me
Right?
anything about the town. It's 634 miles squared. So population
Wait,
1.195
it's a math
million.
equation. Square.
Yeah.
Can we talk about something else?
Yeah, let's talk about Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Is Mario British?
No, he's a.
No,
He's got a new voice actor.
He's
Is he
from
British now?
Brooklyn. He's from Brooklyn.
Oh, that's a good point. Is the new voice actor British though?
Because all the British
Oh.
voice actors do all the big roles now. So is what's the name? Kevin Afghani, the voice actor? Is he
Believe
secretly
so.
British? Is he
see.
the Christian Bale of video games?
We're gonna find out right now. An American voice actor.
Who's the actress? You know who messed me up when I found out she was British?
Who?
Florence Pugh.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I had no
I've
clue.
heard her in movies where she has her.
I had no clue she was British. I only seen her playing Americans, so I was like, she's one of us. But she was not.
And then you disowned her immediately. You're like, you
Nah,
tricked
that's,
me.
no, that's my girl. Shouts out to Florence Pugh, friend of the
She's
show.
great.
Shouts
Friend of
out.
the show, Florence
Friend of
Pugh.
the show.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder is a very good 2D platformer game that I think most of us have been playing here. I'm 4 worlds in and really dig it. I just love the animations that I was watching a deep dive into the animations of Mario and how like the reason that they're all so much more expressive. They've actually like increased the seams on their arms
that why they're
they
so
can
happy?
they can bend them better now.
Like fancy action figures with more articulation.
Exactly. Yeah. That's like a big highlight for me is just that and the flowers that talk to you in the game. I think are hilarious. I think this is for sure the funniest Mario game.
Probably.
That's a weird sentence.
Well, I mean, like I feel like Mario has like a inherent like comedic, like physical comedy element to it.
Well,
I
I would
agree.
say the RPGs are
Yeah,
like
that's
those
true.
have
Oh, yeah,
comedic
Paper Mario's
writing
pretty
in them.
good.
Like those like
Yeah.
Mario and Luigi, those games are actually funny.
Yeah, this one I feel like the flowers are doing a lot for comedic timing, and I'm really enjoying it. Just seeing like the weird stuff they're doing with the wonder flowers each level. I did one. I was talking to Blake. I think I was talking to Blake about it, but we were talking about the silhouette level. Have you done that one yet, Blake?
No, I still haven't.
Yeah, where it like turns essentially everything turns 1 bit, and you're just light and dark and trying to figure out puzzles that way. And you're like a really tall Mario, and you have to like squish down.
Oh, I have done that one.
Okay,
yeah.
Skinny Mario's back.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so good. Yeah, okay. I took away more the tall aspect of
Oh,
it.
that's fair,
The
that's
silhouette. Okay.
Yeah. Those are my favorite parts of the game, easily. I think I've seen some mixed opinions on the levels where you have to find the hidden stars by jumping around and stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like the
I've
party
not done
find.
one of those yet.
Okay. Essentially, you are loaded into a very small level, like 2 or 3 screens long, and there are 5 hidden stars, and you have to find each of them, and they're all invisible at first, and you have to like jump around and find the hidden blocks that unlock them. I really like those. I feel like there's a lot of different. The game has a lot of breakpoints and places. I mean, I think the pacing's really fun. You know, you've got these really long sections that I feel like are like the linear path. I think that you would take. But then if you go off and explore these little side stages, those are probably, again, one of my highlights. It's just like the weird little exercises, 30 seconds long sometimes. Sometimes they're, like I said, you're looking for items and just jumping around a single screen. I've really liked the pacing in this game, and I think a lot of those side activities really help support that. And overall, it's just been my game that I go to at the end of the day. Kayla and I have been watching a lot of reality TV, and I just pull up Mario. Oh no, it's great. Just pull up Mario. I'm watching The Golden Bachelor.
I was gonna ask, like, what reality TV show pairs well with Mario?
Oh, definitely The Golden Bachelor. Which, by the way, if you don't know, The Golden Bachelor is the new 60 plus year old
Blake,
bachelor.
he's allowed a tangent.
So wait, this is part of The Bachelor, but it's for senior citizens?
Exactly. So the Bachelor himself is 70 years old, and instead of being a creepy old man, he was like, I don't want to date anyone younger than 60. And I was like, good on you, dude.
Okay,
he's like
okay.
60
I mean, he's
70.
also on camera, so.
But he's the most, okay. He makes you believe he's the most wholesome Indianan out there. The way he cries like every episode just because somebody's nice to him. And the whole thing is his wife died like 5 years ago, and whenever like somebody reminds him of something his wife did, he cries and like tells them like, you really reminded me of my wife in that moment. It's very wholesome.
That's toxic, bro. He's talking about his ex constantly in front of his new girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's so toxic.
And
dude.
then the people, like a couple of the other people that are dating him, they also lost their husbands, and so they just like cry together, and they're like, I'm so glad we found each other, and that I have somebody to feel less alone with in life.
Honestly,
it's very wholesome.
I could see Mario when he gets to that age. He would be the person that cries at everything.
Absolutely.
Like, we need golden Mario where everyone's a senior citizen.
Yeah.
Like Peach and everybody.
There's probably a level like that in Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Oh, like the Wonder Flower just makes him an old man.
Yeah, honestly. But that's been my go-to nightly routine when I'm winding down. Is just play like 5 stages of Mario Wonder, and I'm on Warp 4 now, the desert area, and I've really been enjoying it, man. It's so good. A lot of inventive enemies. I love the enemies that only jump when you jump. I think that's like one of the best new enemies. But Charles, you've been playing it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, on the note of new enemies, I feel like that's a thing that surprised me about the game. In one of like the first trailers, they were like, "Hey, we have all these new enemies." Yeah, and I feel like Mario is usually pretty like consistent about like they'll change the level design and change like your abilities, so you're approaching them differently, but they're pretty standard in like, I don't know, maybe they're like, this hammer bro's got, I don't know, lightning now.
He's got 2 hammers.
he's got twice the size of hammers or whatever. And now it's like genuinely like, I don't know, you've just completely new ideas, and it's been really great.
I think I can count like off the top of my head like 10 new enemy types in this. Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing you can build a whole level around, just having a new enemy and just the way that you know that interrupts you.
Also the badge system. What do you think about that, Charles?
Badges go so hard, dude. I love that so much. I love the hitting a wall in a level or something and being like, oh, that was kind of annoying, and being like, oh, I can just fly with my hat now, and that's gonna make this like 10% easier.
Yeah.
I've been playing getting the hat's tied to a badge. I keep thinking that's like a regular power up.
It feels like it should be a regular move in the game now.
It's like good stuff that like doesn't warrant a complete power up, but it's still like a nice useful thing. Like when you get to the water world, you get a dolphin kick very early on, and it just lets you dash through the water and break blocks, and that rocks, and it makes water a lot more fun. But it's not like as game changing as like a penguin outfit. And when you take damage, it doesn't go away. Like you still have
penguin outfit.
That's a past thing. That's not in this one. That's in the Mario Wii games. But yeah, I mean, I'm really liking it. I've been playing with my partner Alyssa. Also, I love that there's so many characters. I'm really a sucker for extra playable characters. We've been doing a Toad and Toadette run. And that's been pretty great. Big elephants. Yeah.
I think
beady little eyes on the elephants.
out of all the new power-ups, I think the elephant is my least favorite, actually.
I have not found any of the other new ones yet.
I found at least 3.
I don't mind it, but it's definitely not like
They get better.
I'm not searching it out, you know.
Yeah.
I like looking at it.
I got one last night where I have a drill on my hat. And I can drill into the floor or the ceiling. That one's real good.
Yeah.
There's another I mean, we mentioned in the review, but I won't spoil it here for you, Charles. But essentially, you can like use it to create like temporary bounce points. You know.
I think I was talking about. I think that was in one of the trailers.
Okay. Yeah. It's cool. I like it a lot. Very good.
But Blake, what about you? You've been playing with Reagan?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, who's she play?
She plays as Luigi. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm maybe not as hot on it as other people are, but I like it a lot. Like, I'm approaching it kind of like a little junk food game. Maybe not too dissimilar from you, Alex. Like, just picking it up in short spurts, playing a few levels. I don't think I'm as I'm not gonna use that word again. I don't think I like it as much as I expected to, you know. I think the last run of like kind of tentpole Nintendo platformers, like especially the Kirby game last year, Mario Odyssey, games like that have just been so strong that I think this one is not quite hitting that for me, but it's something like it's something I'm just kind of like, oh, I got a few minutes, I'm gonna pick up and play a couple levels. Like, I really appreciate it for that. I also I've made the conscious decision now that I have Alan Wake to put it down for a bit because I have a flight on Friday. And I'm like, that's going to be the time I really dig into this. But I'm probably like 4 or 5 worlds into it. I think it's cute. I don't know if this is a fault of the game or me. It's probably a fault of me because it seems like you all aren't having the same issue. But I really do not find myself digging into the badge system very much because it's like 1 or 2 are just so clutch in every case. Like the parachute hat is like the most clutch thing ever. That like I'm not experimenting maybe as much as I should.
I think I'm not experimenting on the main levels, but I like the badge challenge levels where you're forced to use them.
Sure.
Interact
But
them
that's
in a different way.
But that's like the vast minority of the game, right? But like you're still opening up the
I'd say I have like
menu.
1 or 2. I do the parachute hat and there's one that maybe it's the triple jump or something. You get a much longer jump time.
Sure.
You're like running in the air.
But I guess to that point, then it does feel like they're not necessarily incentivizing that badge system as much as I thought in a way that I think would make the game more interesting.
Yeah.
But that said, the parachute hat goes hard as heck, and I like it. So the parachute and the drill hat. The drill hat's really good. It's cool.
Is the parachute hat the web wings of Mario?
It's not as good as the web wings, which are game changers, but it's very good. You know what it's actually good for is not parachuting down. It's a quick boost to your jump up. That's the most useful thing about it, is if you open the parachute hat at the apex of a jump, it'll give you just a little extra boost.
Little just to get up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Super good.
And I think like I'm with you in a lot of ways, Blake. I much prefer 3D platformers. Like all the ones that you mentioned being your favorites. I feel like were all 3D platformers. And those were also my favorites. Like I think Bowser's Fury.
Oh, I forgot about that thing. Oh my god, that game
incredible.
Is so good. Yeah, so good.
And
so
I think in the wake of those games, like Mario Odyssey and Bowser's Fury are 2 of my favorite games now, like period. I love those games. When you compare them to the 2D games, I think there's just I don't know, it just loses some of its charm for me. And maybe that goes back to, remembering like the early 3D platformers on 64 or something. I don't know if it's like a nostalgia thing for me, whereas like the older people really like the 2D ones. I don't know.
You know what the issue with 2D platformers is? Celeste came out in 2017. and no game's ever going to do 2D platforming
This is
that
true.
good ever again.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't ever top that. There's no going back from Celeste unless you're just ripping off Celeste, which Mario Wonder is not doing. So
I mean, there might be a level where Mario tackles his crippling depression.
I didn't say the story of Celeste was good.
Hey, I like Celeste's
game is
story.
It was my game of the year. I like that game.
Well, that was 2017, right?
2018.
2018? Oh,
Yeah.
my game of the year 2018 is What the Golf. No, that was 2019. My bad.
What
My
the
bad.
golf is so good though.
What the Golf is incredible. I can't believe more people don't talk about that game.
It's
my
great.
God. What the Golf. Unbelievable game. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, Mario Wonder. Good game.
2 thumbs up from me. On the
for
Game
me.
Informer scale.
1 from me.
1 from you. That's fair.
1.
Spider-Man 2.
Oh man.
I wasn't on the show
Wait.
last week, and I still haven't played it, so I have nothing to add to the conversation.
I platinumed it this week. So.
Okay, all right. Do you have things to say about
I
Spider-Man 2?
100%ed it 2 weeks before it came out, Charles.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. No, Blake did beat me, but Marcus
yeah?
was the
I
one
haven't
that wanted to talk
platinumed it.
about
I
it.
haven't platinumed it.
Well, you think that's impressive. I still haven't finished it, but it's. Listen, I've been busy with things that I can't talk about yet. So
Talk about 'em.
honestly, this past
Talk
weekend
about
was
'em.
the
Break embargo.
Talk about him.
this past weekend was the most like uninterrupted time that I've had with the game, and I'm still relatively early in the sense that I'm like. I can probably say where I am because it's stuff we've seen, but I just got to the point where the lizard part, the big chase that we've seen in the trailers and that I got to play in LA, like that's where I am, like at the start of that. And all that's because I've been going around doing side stuff because it's hard not to, because it's weird because I'm not even, and I said this last week, like I love that I'm not looking at the map very often. I'm just kind of organically swinging around, and then if something's nearby, and it's close enough, it's like, yeah, I'll go do that. Like, I'll go stop that crime because it's like, I should do that because I'm a superhero, but also it's fun to get in there and like mess people up with my either my symbiote powers or my venom, the electric venom powers. It just dawned on me that Miles has his own venom-based abilities that are completely different.
Perhaps the most baffling naming decision I've seen from Marvel in a really long time.
Yeah,
is calling them venom powers.
I mean,
You know how early we were talking about how strong the writing in Alan Wake 2 was? That's an example of bad writing.
to be fair, that's the Marvel things. Like, I thought that when Miles debuted in like 2011.
Yeah,
it's comics. I'm like, that's a weird name for like zappy electric powers. And even when they justified it, like, spiders.
Charge powers was right there. I don't know.
Electric powers.
Yeah,
Also,
well, it's because he's a spider, so he's paralyzing people with his venom. I think that's the idea
I
of
think
Doesn't
that
look
was
like
in-
it. Looks
from
like
what
it's
I
got
it
remember,
doesn't look
like-
like it.
From what I remember of the comic where he gets his powers from like over a decade ago that I haven't read since then, that was more or less how they explained it. I'm like, yeah, some spiders paralyze people with their real powers. So he was just like, I'll call him Venom. In a universe that has a character named Venom. But
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Like, in the world,
like I said,
did Miles name the powers? Because he's what, a teenager?
I mean, he named them in the comics. Like he just
Okay, so
he
he's
was just like, I
just
guess I'll
stupid.
call this Venom.
Yeah, he's stupid.
But it's pre Venom. Really, Venom's the
He's
one that
also a
took it from
13-year-old
Miles.
kid in the comics. So what do you want from him?
how is it pre-Venom?
Yeah, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh no,
In the-
Venom
in the
existed.
universe.
And the
I'm saying-
Venom, yeah, he
That's
existed.
fine, but we live in our universe. That's bad writing.
You're correct. You're correct.
It's
Yes.
like we could just call it what it is.
All that aside, the game is still super fun. It still makes me very happy as both a Spider-Man sicko and just as a person that enjoys good video games. Like I've maxed out the traversal tree. Like I just beelined that thing and ignored most of the other stuff. So I was like, I want to be able to get around as quickly and just like
You're playing it right.
as implausibly as possible. Like I don't understand. And how you do like another weird double jump or dash when you're already like going 90 miles an hour in the air, but I'm not.
If you choose
complaining.
like extra health over that kind of you're dumb. Like,
Yeah, you're playing it wrong. Just if you take one look at that skill tree and you see all the dumb stuff that you can get to do, you're gonna be like, why am I spending all my tech points and whatever other 19 currencies in this game on anything else first.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I made the decision because I'm like, and I'm doing everything. I've made myself remember all the traversal moves. I feel like they're very easy to forget, but I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I was practicing them so that I would have the muscle memory to where like I'm doing the weird loop-de-loop spin all the time.
Do they still have the cannonball thing midair?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you mean like the trick?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I'm doing the tricks and stuff. One, because it's fun, and also like in my head canon, I just like showing off for all the people in the street. But like, wow, Spider-Man could do that.
I think
Peter
it's worth
can do-
also pointing out, Mark.
Mhm.
I don't know if any of y'all have gone back to play the other two Spider-Man games since Spider-Man 2 has come out.
Oh no.
I had to play them to capture some stuff for a feature. And in Spider-Man 2, they have just increased the base speed of swinging by what feels like 50%. Like, it's just a way faster game now that in a way that is like immensely satisfying. So to your point, like adding all the traversal upgrades onto it, you feel like a freaking F-16 bomber going through New York. It is
Especially when you're
crazy.
flying. Like I've not had this much fun with just flying since maybe that otherwise bad
Forspoken.
Superman movie game. Oh, that's what I was thinking of. Yes.
Yeah.
That if anyone remembers Superman the movie,
about
that
that
360 game movie tie-in.
I do.
That was
I do remember.
god awful.
I'm pretty sure I played a 360 demo for that game.
They did have a run at like EB Games when it came out, because that's where I first played it. But like flying around and doing sonic booms in that game were like the only good part of like, well, they got the flying part of Superman, right? And this is like sort of making me think of that, but obviously like much better. I was like, man, there's the purist in me as a Spider-Man fan that like slightly cringes when I see him glide. Like I had that in the Tom Holland movies. I think it was Far From Home where he has the suit, and I was like, oh, but he's not a flying guy, he's a swinging guy. And that's just me being curmudgeon-y old Spider-Man fan. Is like, realistically, it makes sense that he should make something that expedites that because he's a smart kid. I'm over that at this point, just because it's just so much fun.
Well, there's also plenty of spiders that ride in the wind.
Yeah,
like in
too.
nature. Yeah.
I know, because they keep making webs on my car, and I'm like, this web strand goes super far from like where it's connected to. How did you do this?
Symbiote.
But Venom. But
Venom's not he's not a spider, Alex. It's an alien. Different.
it's true.
Shoot.
Or he's a
Come on.
man-made creation, depending on which version of Venom you go with. We won't get into that can of worms, but I believe in this game they go with the proper alien.
I think Blake's camera froze and he's just like staring.
I thought he was just stunned.
I thought he was like angry at the idea. Yeah, that
of a man of like ultimate Venom, the ultimate version of Venom.
The longer it goes, the better it is.
It's a good default face.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Whoa! Wow!
What just happened? Is everybody
Where's Blake?
good? What do you mean? Where's Blake?
He was just there.
Is it the dark place again?
Dang it!
We picked up that
He
manuscript.
got written out of the story on accident. Cause the freaking should have been a semicolon. There was a period.
No one finished his
was-
story.
They didn't finish the sentence proper.
It's like Cody
you know.
Rhodes.
Man, shoot.
What were we talking about? Spider-Man?
Yeah, Spider-Man, I guess.
Spider-Man.
Blake, where? I hope he's okay.
Yeah, shout out,
Wherever he
throw
is.
us if he needs a tether to the dark place to pull him out. Hopefully it doesn't take 13 years to get him out of there.
Yeah, jeez. Okay, well, I
know.
guess we'll continue the show without him.
I think my point that I was making is Spider-Man 2 is a fun video game.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
It was
okay.
the hottest take that you'll hear this week.
Yeah.
Saying I'm having a fun time in that game doing cool Spider-Man stuff. And maybe my hot take, and just compared to like Blake's take on Peter and I guess just Peter, I like Peter in this game. Miles is more interesting in this game for sure. I love Miles, and I like him even better now because I got him wearing the bodega outfit that has the cat in the backpack.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And seeing that little rascal pop up and throw his hands around during like serious cutscenes is very funny to me.
I think Blake's favorite character is J. Jonah Jameson. The more I think about it.
Blake really relates to J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
He does hate Peter a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some crossover there.
I think on Blake's note about Peter Parker is I I don't dislike him the way Blake does, but I do think he serves a different purpose than Miles, in which I think the idea of Peter is like, this is a kid that's down on his luck, and he's learning this whole thing about like responsibility and juggling these parts of his life and becoming a superhero. But I think Peter Parker as a character is very much like a blank slate that you impress upon to be like, I'm going to relate to this guy. I'm going to put myself in his shoes. But I think he's, I don't know, in contrast to Miles, who I feel like has a very specific like cultural background. He's got a very specific life. I think Spider-Man as Peter Parker is kind of like, this could be anyone. And Spider-Man as Miles Morales is like, this is this one specific person. Therefore, any one specific person could be similar to Spider-Man. That's kind of how I interpret it. So any like vagueness or general character trait that Peter Parker has never like rubbed me the wrong way, because I think that's more of like what his deal is.
Yeah, that's interesting because like when you have Peter with Miles, I think his role changes because he's the mentor. And you know, what I like about the Insomniac series is that this is a Peter that has been Spider-Man for like a decade. Like he has been through all kinds of stuff. He has established relationships with all his villains, and most of them at least, and like his side characters. And that Miles kind of occupies the role that Peter traditionally has, of like he's the kid in high school figuring out how to balance the life, whereas Peter obviously still has a hard time with that, because that's just going to be hard to do no matter what, but he has a better handle on it. And I think that like Peter has always been like a dork. That is just the character. You know, there's variations of that over the decades and depending on who writes them, but he's never been portrayed as like a cool guy, and he knows that he's not a cool guy. Which is what makes him and has always made him endearing to me, is that he fully is aware, even when like his quips, like he knows they're bad jokes, and that's what makes them funny, is that he says them anyway because
the self-awareness.
Like he's trying to get a rise out of people, or to like break the tension, or to distract whatever purpose it serves. But like he knows that it's like, yeah, I'm just a giant goober. And then when Miles came along, who like Miles is like a genuinely cool kid.
He is cool. People think he's cool.
Yeah, like, but he's like a nerd, but not like he's nerd in the sense that he's very intelligent. But like as a kid, he's got like this kid has some swag. Like he's cooler than me when I was his age. like I was like the smart kid too, but I didn't have the swag that Miles has. And I think when you have them up against Peter, I like that contrast of like they're both science nerds, but one is just like inherently like more suave and has like a swagger that Peter has never had, and Peter is like not ashamed of that. Like he embraces that. And so like I think that's where the all shucksness of Peter doesn't bother me. I think again, being used to that character for so many decades, I'm like, that's just Peter Parker. And I think they play it up in a way in this game that's like endearing to me more than like annoying. But that's me just having been married to this character for so long. And you're like, no, that's just who he is, man.
Yeah.
You know.
Now that you're a little farther in, Marcus, how do you feel about Harry? Because you're talking about how portrayals of Harry kind of vary throughout the canon of Spider-Man.
There's a good chance this could be my favorite portrayal of Harry. I need to see how his arc, wraps up in this game. But again, like I said, Harry is very hit and miss in how he's portrayed, even in the comics sometimes. But especially in like cartoons and movies, like I mentioned, like the 90s animated show that was Fox Kids. Love that show, but that Harry is so annoying and bad. And then like James Franco, I thought was a pretty good Harry in terms of like if you're going for more of the like edgy Harry, for lack of a better term, like kind of the more like you're almost like, this guy probably shouldn't be friends with Peter, but he is, because there's a bit of that Flash Thompson sort of like jockiness to him, especially because he's rich. But like what makes Harry nice or like endearing is that he's not that, even though he probably should be on paper. You know what I mean? Like he has like a heart and cares about Peter. But it varies. But this one rides that line of like, yeah, like he's got money and stuff, but like he has like a really good moral compass, and like their friendship feels believable, even though this is the first time we've seen it on screen, at least in this series. Because he was absent in the other ones. But like even from like that first scene where you're like going on the bike ride together and they're sort of like reminiscing about like old times, I was like, yeah, I buy this. Like, there's a chemistry there that feels pure and like earnest, and I'm like happy for them that they have they have each other again. And like anytime they're on screen, I'm almost like the fact that you have me dreading something bad happening to Harry, because that character is, good things don't happen to him generally.
Yeah.
And he gets screwed over a lot in the comics in very different ways. So I'm kind of waiting for that shoe to drop here, but like the fact that you almost have me being like, I don't know if I want to see that again. Because I like this hair. I just want him to be okay. I think that's a testament to how likable they've made him in this game.
Yeah, he's great. He's like a contender for my favorite performance, I would say. Him and Miles probably, but a lot of good characters in this game.
Yeah,
I want to see him and Miles hang out more. I've seen like one direct interaction so far with him, and I remember I was thinking like, well, this is interesting. Like, I don't even know if I've ever seen these two characters interact much, even in the comics, because why would they?
I don't think there's a ton, yeah, in this game even.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I made me want to say, I kind of want to see like them hang out like properly and see how that unfolds. You know?
Well, cool. Well, I just want to talk real quick before we get into listener questions about party animals. Have you guys had a chance to check this out yet, or I assume?
No, I keep installing updates on Steam though.
Yeah.
It seems like they update this game a lot, bro. Like,
I did a tiny bit. I played right before we started, and I did the tutorial, and then I did one match.
Okay. I don't know what you thought, but I have had a really good time playing this game lately. I never played Gang Beasts. I haven't played any of those sorts of games.
Yeah,
I always
neither,
wanted
actually.
to. I just couldn't get a party together, and I thought for some reason you had to have a party. This game has a quick match function, just a public matchmaking. I'm really enjoying it. Number one, I thought the tutorial was great.
Yes.
One of my favorite tutorials in a game. Definitely hearkening back to Valve games a bit with it, and like some very overt references. And also the publisher of this game is called Source Technology, which is another Valve reference, I believe. But this is a party. What would you describe? A party platform game, kind of party brawler. It's like Gang Beasts. You're all
party
within...
being the foremost term for sure.
Yeah. You are playing as an animal that you pick from. It's purely cosmetic, but like there's a ton of different outfits you get to pick and unlock. There's a great progression system in the game. But yeah, there are, I think, like something like 8 players in a typically in the most basic level, a rectangle arena, and on the outskirts of that, think of it like the bleed area of like a Photoshop. Like if you've got a Photoshop document, you've got like the bleed area where there's like a little bit of space on the outside of the main thing. And if you get hit into that bleed area and you don't get out quick enough, you die. That's kind of like the gist of this game. But yeah, it's a 3D platformer brawler. You're physics based, I should say. So you are
floppy.
You're floppy, and and sometimes it doesn't feel great. That's like part of the.
Is that by design? No, it's like it's supposed.
You're
supposed to kind of fight the physics a little bit.
Yeah, it's not quite QWOP or something like that, but it's. You're right. It is some kind of intentionality with that, but sometimes it does feel bad. But other times it's really slapstick and really funny, and also sometimes it just feels great. Yeah, it's kind of like a mixed bag in that way.
Which animal do you play as?
Great question.
Yeah, that is a good question. So you can unlock new animals, and I've unlocked an owl. I've unlocked a moose that I really like to play as. The main like corgi looking animal, I've got a lot of outfits for. So I play
is it not just a corgi?
It is just a corgi, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why I described it that way.
Corgi-like creature.
Yeah, this corgi-like creature. So yeah, I kind of go with like what I have outfits for. I have an alligator that has like a bathing or like a bath towel on with a little rubber ducky on his head. I think that might be part of like the pre-order. We were all provided codes for this game.
No,
and
that's just what they do in Florida, actually.
yeah.
They swim a lot.
But yeah, you are. It's kind of like single elimination every round. I guess that's single elimination. Yeah, you get knocked out, you're out until the next round. But yeah, if you get knocked out of the arena, there's no respawns or anything like that. You have 1 life per round, and typically it is team based, as far as I know. And typically sometimes you'll be on larger teams. Most of the time it's 4 or 5 teams of 2. And you're all fighting amongst each other, picking up objects that spawn in the environment, like a frying pan or a taser you can pick up and tase people. And then that gives you a chance, if you knock them out, you concuss them, you can pick them up and throw them off the arena, right? And some of the arenas, like you're in an ice block that's floating in the Arctic Ocean that's slowly coming apart, and the arena gets smaller and smaller. And you're trying to, it's kind of like that old Mario Party mini game. I don't know if it's ringing a bell, but it reminds me of that. But yeah, I'm very much enjoying it. There's another level that's frustrating a lot, but cool, where you are in this Arctic region and you have to stay close to the campfires to stay warm, or you'll freeze to death. And so there's like multiple campfires, and sometimes the wind will blow them out, and everyone's running to the other campfires. It's a cool game. I'm really enjoying it. There's been a few moments where I just like save myself at the very last second, and it just feels so good. Like I got flung off of an airplane in one match, and I grabbed like the tail end of like the far wing, and my character's like hanging on by a thread, literally. And I'm like slowly climbing back onto the plane as like the others are dying. It's a lot of fun. I recommend it if you like those kind of games. It can be frustrating. I had my first rage quit the other day because I was just tired. I felt like I was getting picked on, and I kept dying. And then while you're waiting for the next round, the longer you wait, you get tokens, and you can spend your tokens on things like you can throw fish at people, you're just kind of like a disembodied camera, you know? But you can throw like banana peels for people to slip on when you're dead, or you can throw bombs from off screen and try to blow people up. But a lot of it, once you're out, it's like a very passive thing. And if you get knocked out early, it's really frustrating because some of them can last a while. Because some people will find, like, I realized on one of the main maps, there's a pillar you can climb, and people will just climb off screen and wait for everyone else to die, and then they'll drop down.
That's the worst.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. Party Animals. I think it's probably like gonna be on my top 10 this year, maybe like number 10 or something.
We gotta stream that.
I'd be totally down to
Gotta
stream
get a
that.
group. Maybe tomorrow or something. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. If we do it in the afternoon, I could do tomorrow. But I'm out in the morning just for a little inside baseball.
It'll probably be afternoon.
Yeah.
TBD.
Yeah, TBD. Well, yeah, that's Party Animals. Charles, do you want to talk about it anymore, or should we move on?
I had one thing to say is that I'm a gang beasts sicko.
I know you are. Yes.
I have played hundreds of hours of gang beasts with my brother. And if anyone's like, oh, dang, I got to catch up on all this gang beasts lore, it's not worth playing hundreds of hours of. It's really not much of a game. And it's a game I'm surprised has done so well, given like how little content is in it, and how that game is about fighting against the physics and fighting against the controls. And my brother and I have played so much of it that we are just masters of that physics system.
Yeah.
But part of the fun is just that it's so goofy, and like even if you execute a thing perfectly, it might not work. So when it does work, it's super exciting. That said, playing Party Animals, immediately I was like, this is so much better. This just the tutorial, I was like, oh yeah, climbing should be that easy. Or oh yeah, it should be, you should just have to press one button to do some of these things.
Yeah.
And I'm not like used to it yet. Also, I did one match, and I didn't realize the game was normally how you were describing it, Alex, because the one I got dropped into was a soccer game. And
I haven't done that one yet. I have probably played 20 matches, and I have not seen that once.
I would recommend voting against it.
Okay,
because
good
it just took a really long time, and no one can die. So you're just pushing this ball around. And Charles, I'm not a sports person, so I don't really like soccer.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm really excited to play more of this, given how much Gang Beasts I've played. It's really Gang Beasts, except so it looks way better. It probably controls better, and there's like 10 times as much features. So
yeah, it's cool. Recommend it. Well, let's get into housekeeping real quick, and then we'll get into the listener questions. If you want to support the show, you can always leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can rate us on Spotify. We did have a new review I wanted to read off. It's been a while since I have checked, and I apologize for that. But we have two 5-star reviews. One from JTWNSC saying, great video game podcast that keeps you up to date on the latest news, along with some great reviews. Thank you, JTWNSC. And then Dan R. Doran says, still great. Hey, I recently wrote a review, but can I get Spider-Man for free? Sorry, Dan. No code. I'm sorry. We don't have any more. But they do say we are their number one podcast they listen to every week.
Thank you.
Dan, thank you.
You can recite everything that happens in Spider-Man. It'll kind of be like getting it for free.
Yeah.
If you don't mind consuming it as an audiobook.
We did get a 1-star review saying, Horde podcast now. They complain incessantly about Twitter. I feel like we never mentioned Twitter on the show.
Maybe we've mentioned, I feel like whenever we say our tags, we're like Twitter or X. I don't know. I mean, that's like a bit. But
you would think people in the media
like
would appreciate
seconds.
free speech. Stop constantly whining as it is embarrassingly drab. I feel like,
Listen,
are you sure that's our podcast that you're listening to?
Sir, this isn't Arby's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Listen, I love free speech too. I just like it without decreased functionality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, now you're proving them right, Marcus. Come on.
Scrap the questions. Let's just talk about Elon Musk.
All you do is whine, Marcus. Yeah,
my homework.
I try to take feedback, no matter what the star rating is. I feel like we just don't do that. I think it's not true. I'm sorry.
We should praise it instead.
Okay, yeah, we could. That's some feedback we could integrate. Maybe
praise X.
Yeah, praise X.
Sounds like a cult.
That sounds like his church. Like he sounds like a futuristic church called Praise X.
If I told you there was a level in Alan Wake 2 where Praise X was written on a wall in blood, you would totally believe it. Like, absolutely.
I had to open up a chest when I found it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the reviews. We'll try not to complain about Twitter as much, because we just never shut up about it on this podcast, apparently. You can watch our streams, twitch.tv/Game Informer. For sure on Fridays for replay, and also throughout the week we typically stream a fair amount.
Replay starting this Friday.
What's it going to be? I haven't heard.
We are playing the Super Replay, so we're playing the entirety of Spider-Man for the PlayStation 1, released in 2000, developed by Neversoft, which was my favorite Spider-Man game for years until 2018 Insomniac Spider-Man.
That's a great Spider-Man game.
Yeah, you played it too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. I remember
Matt
the cover.
Storm, our podcast editor, we had a chat over the weekend because they were like, "Oh my God, someone else loves this game too." I was like,
awesome.
"Yes, we're all coming out the woodwork now."
Yeah,
I've actually also I haven't played the game, but I had a neighbor with a PlayStation 1 who would play it a lot, so I've watched a lot of it.
Yeah,
you watch from like your window.
I would go over, and he would be like
sad looking.
He wouldn't share. He would just let you watch it.
I would just sit on the couch and watch. I don't know. It was fine.
I'm thinking like, you ever watched the Arthur cartoon when he would like look at the fun class that would like have the candy from like Mr. Rapper? Was that you with him like Spider-Man?
That's really funny. Of course, speaking of Matt Storm, our podcast editor, you can follow them, DJ Stormageddon. They have a website. You can listen to their Fun and Games podcast. You can listen to their BioWare podcast, which is called Reignite. So go support them. All Things Nintendo, our other show that releases every week, hosted by Brian Shea. It's a Nintendo podcast, of course, called All Things Nintendo. Go and listen to that on Fridays. And lastly, you can follow us on Threads, Blue Sky, Twitter/X, which I will make no comments about. All the places. You can follow me, Alex Van Aken, at It's Van Aken. You can follow Marcus Stewart at Marcus Stewart 7, and you can follow Charles Hart at Chuck Duck 365. Blake, who had to go, or was sorry, he was blipped out of existence. I don't know if he's gonna keep up with his social media after
the
that.
Shadow Realm.
Yeah, I don't know if they have Twitter there. Maybe that is actually Twitter.
I hope
The Shadow Realm.
we kind of need his help on the wwebsite and stuff.
I know, in the magazine. Yeah.
I hope he's got internet wherever he is.
Yeah, you can follow Blake at Metallica is Rad on Blue Sky and Twitter, I believe. That's it for housekeeping this week. Let's get into listener questions. Of course, if you want to be part of the show, this is the part that you get to influence what we talk about. You can email us, podcast@GameInformer.com, with the subject line Game Informer Show question with your question, or you can join the official Game Informer community Discord. And to get access, you just have to subscribe to our Twitch channel one time. Make sure that your Twitch and your Discord are linked together, and we should appear in your server integrations in your profile, and you should be able to join our Discord that way. If you have any issues, you can email me, Alex Van Aken at GameInformer.com, with the subject line Twitch Discord connection issue. That's what I'm deeming the subject line to be.
It's a great efficient subject line.
Yes. So let's get into it. Cole Harper from Nashville, Tennessee wrote in from email. They wrote, "Hey everyone, with Soulsborne and Souls-like games becoming so popular, would you consider Soulsborne games its own genre or maybe subgenre of gaming? Also, what would it take for a new genre to become widely accepted by the gaming public?"
First,
you go ahead, Marcus. You can take it away.
I was gonna say, I think it's totally a subgenre.
Definitely, yeah,
now,
subgenre of the action
point.
genre, I would say.
Yeah, just because there's so many games that are it's such a deliberate style. Like, no one accidentally makes a Soulsborne game. Like, there are very clear sort of like pillars that you kind of have to build to kind of get there. And then in terms of the second question of what does it take for it to catch on, honestly, I think it's a catchy name. Because like with Metroidvania, that's just such a fun thing to say. And yeah, you got to keep making games like it. But when you get like a nice name attached to it where everyone can identify, like, that's what we're calling these, and then we all like silently agree, like, I guess everyone else keeps saying it, so I'm saying it now. And so like I don't like Soulsborne. Do you guys? I feel like I see Soulsborne and Souls-like. Which
I prefer Souls-like because it just feels more. Metroidvania is amazing to me that it's caught on because it's such a jumbled up thing of nonsense.
I remember the first time I heard Metroidvania, I thought somebody was just like having something happening and they were not able to speak.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was like, you mean Castlevania, right, idiot?
Yeah.
It's also funny because it's just Metroid, because the Castlevania part was just like them doing Metroid one time with Symphony, and it was really good. But it's like they ate one time, and then they're like, "Oh, you helped create this, so you're part of the title."
Yeah, we're part of this. Add us to the end.
Yeah, like he owned the team. Yeah, and I guess he is because we decided that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Soulsborne made more sense, like, I don't know, like right when Sekiro was out, like before there was so much of it where it was like, well, the Dark Souls and Bloodborne games, or now even from Software, there's Sekiro and Elden Ring, which have like expanded on the definition a little bit more.
I think Souls-like is what will kind of permeate. I think like the differences between Soulsborne and Souls-like are very little. It really kind of feels like comes down to movement style and like attack and defense options and like the speed of the game.
I think you need some Bloodborne element to get the Born. Like Lies of P feels like Soulsborne because that aesthetic is very clearly going for
yeah, but
Bloodborne.
apart from Blood, like I feel like it's going to be less effective as games stop replicating Bloodborne specifically.
It will never stop
and just start being their own thing, inspired by the genre.
Yeah, listen, if games can't stop aping Metroid, then we will get Bloodborne games.
Yeah, that's true.
Forever.
I say
until
we
they
just
make
say
a sequel.
Souls-like. I think we just say Souls-like. That's my opinion. But
Okay.
It's just
So we're like industry luminaries, right? So if we decide Souls-like is the one, then that's the rule.
Oh yeah,
right?
we declare it now.
So like everyone
Yeah.
else has to listen to us.
like there's even less. There's roguelite and roguelike, and those have distinct differences. I don't see those same differences in Soulsborne and Souls-like.
Yeah,
True.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
you
we're
gotta
saying-
have some sort of this other distinction, you know. Besides, it kind of looks and feels like Bloodborne.
So as the #1 video game podcast on Earth,
Oh,
are saying-
top 20.
#1, damn it, I'm saying it. we're
Depending on
saying
what region and
Souls-like-
which platform, we are probably #1 somewhere.
No caveats. I'm saying Souls. We're
you could
declaring.
say top 20, Marcus. You could say
but it-
top 100 leisure podcasts.
Quality wise, maybe Alex.
Okay.
Maybe we're
in your heart, sentimental favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're saying Souls-like is the official term. So going forward, when I listen to any other gaming podcast, if I'm listening to Kinda Funny, if I'm listening to Giant Bomb, Nextlander, MinMax, whoever it is,
Leave
if anyone
negative
says-
comments telling them Game Informer sent you.
No.
Well, no, if
You don't
anyone
believe
says
that.
Soulsborne, then it's like, no, you broke the law. We said it's Souls-like.
Actually, Game Informer, the #1 video game the
you would
#1
get a
video
very-
game magazine, we can say that.
Yeah, that is true.
We can
Yeah.
say that. Says it's Souls-like.
You'll
And-
get a very rude, well, actually.
Yes.
We'll call up Jeff Keighley, and he'll come.
Yeah.
And he'll be like,
He is the
That's what
Odin
he
of
does,
the video
yeah.
games media pantheon. He's the Zeus.
Odin.
Yeah. What was the other part of the question? What would it take for a new genre? Yeah, I think like you said, like a good name. One of the genres that I apologize because I can't remember who posted this. Somebody posted on Blue Sky, I think. Maybe it was Jenna Stober. I don't know if it is though. I feel bad that I don't remember who said this, but it's been thinking about it. They're talking about like tiny games. Oh, maybe it was Danielle Riendo, perhaps, talking about we need to make tiny games a subgenre. Games like a
Tiny
short
games?
hike. Tiny games, yeah.
I think those are just adventure games.
I know, but like games that can be completed and have this full experience within a couple of hours, and they're like,
So it's just like a
they
length.
don't feel like a demo, they don't feel like a prototype. They're a fully fledged game within a couple of hours. They're
Okay.
saying like something like tiny games. No, I was reading a blog post, actually, a game designer's blog post. It wasn't any of the people I said, and I don't remember the blog, but I remember reading it on a blog. I'm really sorry. And I was thinking about games like Little Gator Game, A Short Hike, stuff like that. And yeah, they're adventure games.
Yeah. Florence can beat in an hour.
Florence, yeah.
Lawrence.
Because I think there's a lot of people that, the way we talk about genres, because it's a way for us to communicate with each other and to communicate a set of ideas that we can relate to and understand for conversation. And if we had a moniker for those sorts of games, I think it would help, because there's a lot more of those sorts of experiences. And to their point, they're like, tiny games just doesn't sound good. So I was like, oh, mini games would have been really good, but that's already taken. What
That's
about
true.
micro games?
That's WarioWare.
Shoot.
I was gonna say,
No, that's
that
mini
does
games,
the
I
same
thought.
thing.
No, they called them micro games in WarioWare.
Well, that's a
what the game's
branding
called.
thing, isn't it?
I mean, that's why you can't use it, because when you hear micro games, people think of WarioWare.
What about
And those games are even shorter. Those are only a few seconds.
Nano games?
what about Tiny Worlds? The Tiny World game.
That just sounds like the name of a game.
Tiny
Chibi
World.
games.
No.
Chibi games, bitty games.
Biddies.
Bitly.
Itty bitty.
What about little games?
Little games.
Little games.
I think the older demographic's gonna have trouble
That's-
pronouncing that.
I think
That's
he
what they were.
opens.
That's what they were gonna call Parappa the Rappa. Little games.
Is that the game Sun?
Little games.
I don't know.
Let us know. Write in.
What should we call small games?
Yeah,
small,
write in and let us know.
Like, what about small open world games, like A Short Hike, right? They say it themselves. It's a tiny open world adventure game.
Biggie Smalls.
Like, it's fully fledged. It has features.
It's a big world in a small package.
You feel satisfied when you beat it. Maybe it's just like a good small game. I don't know. But they got like, wholesome games now. We need something for the rest of us, you know?
Like maybe like snack games.
It's a bite-sized.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fun size, like fun size candy. It's Halloween's coming up. It's pretty much like a fun size thing, right?
Yeah.
What if it's bite size with a Y?
Ooh,
I like it.
Okay, like,
We haven't done that since 2005.
Yeah. Actually, we have megabytes. Gigabytes.
Oh, okay.
Right?
We'll
Bytes
bring
in
it back.
general.
No, you're correct.
Yeah. Binary digits. Data.
Like that's the genre, or you're saying you're just describing bytes.
I'm just
You're just
describing
saying words.
bytes. I'm just describing
Okay,
bytes.
yeah.
All right.
Next
question.
Jadonk on Discord asks, time to get existential. Oh, this is funny. Do you think life is a roguelite, roguelike, or permadeath? So do we think, well,
I really like the implications of roguelite.
well, roguelike and has permadeath. Like your stuff is wiped.
Well, a roguelike implies that even though your stuff is wiped, you get to do it over and over again.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yep, you're right.
Permadeath
is you're
means
just gone.
they're gone.
There's nothing.
I
Roguelite,
don't-
there is progression.
Right. I
that
don't
mean you
think
go to
that's a
heaven?
thing. But that'd be really funny if, like, you just keep going. Like, it's like, hey, I'm Charles 5.
Yeah.
I know. I've
got plus 20%
came out the
health.
womb just as good at trombone as I am now.
Is it just reincarnation?
Yeah.
But like you're the same person technically. You're
Yeah,
not
like maybe
reincarnating
you're
into a
inherently
different
skilled,
person.
like Charles says. Like, oh, they're a savant on piano from like
Have you
age
guys-
4.
Have you guys read any of the modern X-Men comics?
No.
Like House of X, Powers of X, because there's literally Moira McTaggart. They like reveal she's a mutant, and that who is a character has never been a mutant for her existence, but like her mutant power is reincarnation, and literally her life is like a roguelike, because her powers were like she lives her life, she dies and is reborn again, but like time resets too. So she literally lives the same life, but every time, like when she became aware that she had this the first time she died, she had all of her knowledge of her past life. So even as a baby, she had a head start. She just knew everything. So then she purposely changed her life of like, oh, my husband that I married in my first life and had kids and had a great life, I met him randomly on the street corner, and I went to the same street corner and saw him, and I decided not to talk to him, which now changes everything for my new life.
Wow.
It's like that, basically, I guess. I guess as an example of how that would work.
Yeah.
You know?
So is the question, what do we think it is, or what do we want it to be?
I mean, what we think it is, like I said, existential. I mean, probably permadeath is the knee-jerk answer, because you're like, oh, when you die, that's it, right? And depending on your belief system, if you believe in reincarnation or anything like that,
or roguelites. Yeah.
I mean, the answer is that you can't prove it until it happens, right? Like no one knows for sure, even if you believe in a system, like have faith. The key word is faith, right? Like no one objectively knows what happens when you die, until it happens, right?
Yeah.
You just hope really hard that whatever you believe in happens. So with that said, I would like it to be a rogue light.
I think that's the best option.
That's the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants permadeath?
Yeah. I think everybody wants to
boring.
keep going.
Even if it's roguelike in the form of I come back as a ghost, but ghosts remember how they died and stuff, right? Like they remember their lives.
I don't know. We
You just
don't
take a
know.
new form. Well, I mean, ghost shows, you talk to a ghost and they're like, yeah, I can tell you about myself. That's how usually it works, right?
That's true. I guess
I can tell you I died.
ghost shows have proved that ghosts are real.
I mean, depending on what you believe, that could be factual. Yes.
Yeah, I think like the best case scenario is roguelite, right?
I mean, the best case scenario is unlimited lives.
Okay, well that gets boring. Though.
Well, and then it's like, do you beat it? Can you beat it? Is there a goal? Is there a win condition?
Is this a life sim?
I mean,
I don't think
because if we're getting existential, like unending lives, like once you've maxed out all your stats, I feel like I would start to go crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you just wait for the
doing this.
inevitable heat death of the universe when the sun collapses and.
Well, but is it a time thing though? I
Yeah,
guess
it's like
that was-
Vampire Survivors. At 30 minutes, will the guy come and try to kill you?
Well, I think that's global warming. I think that's what it is. It's just when the Earth gives up, basically. 'Cause we destroyed it.
Climate change survivors. is
Yeah,
what
like
that game was called.
it takes care of itself at a certain point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to live in Minecraft, man.
Of all the worlds, Minecraft.
Let me live in Fortnite, you know?
Mm.
I feel like they got it pretty
Fortnite-
good.
That seems
Fortnite,
like
they are kind of trapped in a time loop though.
yeah, I was
right?
gonna say that seems
Yeah.
like a miserable existence of having to fight constantly and get shot and then do it all over again.
Yeah, but
And
like some of the
sometimes it's Darth Vader that
NPCs
kills you.
Yeah. At least it's exciting though, you know?
I mean, it's Ready Player One,
Yeah.
but worse.
Eh.
People are getting killed all the time. So
All right. Mash start button on Discord asks, since we're getting existential, do you all believe in soulmates? Furthermore, if soulmates exist, does that imply the existence of soul enemies? Soul hates, if you will.
I feel like that question was just the vehicle to deliver that play on words. Which I can
It was
respect.
worth it. I respect it.
As
I
somebody,
will let the two people that have romantic partners. give their
I
take
have
first.
been with my wife for 14 and a half years. We are each other's high school sweethearts. That being said, I don't necessarily believe in soulmates because
Wait for your wife to come crashing through the wall. Like,
no,
what
I
did
think
you
she.
say?
I think she would agree. I think she would agree. I
That's
think.
not what you told me.
Yeah. I mean, are there parts of our relationship that I look at as like divine circumstance? Sometimes I do, yes. But love is a choice and it takes hard work to have it be good after so many years, and I think that we've done a great job at that. But it does require work, and I think it's like soulmate implies that like it's just going to happen and it doesn't require work and development, you know. And I also think I believe in like man, we're really getting deep on this show, guys.
We are getting deep.
Like I believe like if for heaven forbid, like my wife and I were no longer together for some reason, like I believe that we each would have capacity to find another partner, right? And soulmates, I don't think like would you ever, I don't know. I go back and forth. Like
yeah.
I think
You're
like
saying-
maybe there are people that there are definitely people that you align with more than other people, and they have the capacity to feel like your person in the world. Like that, my wife very much feels like my person, and it feels like we were the ways in which that we exist and were made and live this life. They just match so well together, right? And so if that's what you mean by soulmate, then yeah. But do I think it's like there's only one person that can be like that? I don't think so. I think it's just like, okay, you really align with this person. You're both putting in a lot of work, and it becomes really good over time. I think that's more of what it is.
So you're saying like if again, heaven forbid, your wife passed away,
Yeah.
and let's say 5 years down the line, you'd be open to like.
I would be on the Golden Bachelor.
Dang, you really ruined that setup. That's what I was trying to get at.
I'm sorry. I should
he
let you
beat you
finish.
there.
That's good. You saw it coming. I was laying down all the.
It's like, have you guys had this discussion of like, if one of us dies, the other one is allowed to go on the Bachelor or the Bachelorette?
Absolutely. We watch it. We're like, We should figure out a way to go on this like somehow because we're just like we want to compete, man.
I mean, it's pretty easy. Just pretend not to be married.
Yeah, but then you got the whole PR issue. We thought about it, Marcus. Okay, we don't have the agents to do that to pull this off.
Wow.
Okay.
That's my answer, though. Long story short.
I feel mostly the same, and yet I feel like I feel like that on paper. I think kind of similar to you, Alex, where like I totally feel like that on paper, but also
the emotional side,
like,
it does feel like a soulmate.
Both emotional and like statistically, the odds of me ending up with this specific person through all the circumstances or whatever.
That's
like,
really true as well. And that's what I meant by like that divine.
Yeah.
It feels like there's something like astral about it.
I met my girlfriend Alyssa on one of the first days of school, our freshman year of college. And I answered a question. We took like a Myers-Briggs test for this class. It was like about finding out what your major should be. And they split us into like all the different groups. And the first question is whether you're an introvert or extrovert. And the teacher was asking, extroverts on this side of the room, what makes you an extrovert? And this person raised their hand. They're like, I think this. And this person, I think this. And then she was like, introverts on the room. Why are you an introvert? And no one raised their hand. Because we're introverts. And then I raised my hand and I was like, I don't know. I don't really like small talk. That's like my answer. And then as soon as the class ended, Alyssa came up to me and she was like, we should be friends. I also don't like small talk. And then we immediately became friends. And then over the next few years became clear that she was engaged to someone and then ended up breaking off her engagement. And then we ended up getting together. And it's a lot of stuff ended up happening in there where we didn't try to form a relationship, but it kind of just ended up happening. And it feels weird to imply that we chose to do any of that because it was like, I don't know, it kind of feels like this is what has to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my answer. What about you, Marcus?
Sure.
Fair.
I mean, honestly, not even being flippant, that is how I sum it up of like, I don't know either way. And I don't think it really matters. I think it just, if you find someone that you like, just count your blessings and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think so. Let's move on. Quilgrim via Discord asks, what would your picks be if you could transport any character from any game to partner up with any other character in another game? For example, I think Nintendo's beloved Pink Marshmallow Kirby would be a much cooler sidekick for Kratos in God of War than that little dork Atreus.
I would like to see what Kirby would turn into if he ate one of the gods.
Yeah.
Like he
that
got like
game
a nice
writes
like
itself, you know?
He gets pretty cool hats.
Gets Odin's eye patch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, he gets Baldur's tattoos. Can't feel pain anymore.
I can't picture Kirby with Baldur's tattoos.
He's just going on and on about how much he wants to feel. What if you put, because they seem cut from the same cloth. If you put Tom Nook from Animal Crossing with J. Jonah Jameson and have them start a business together. Because there's like two different,
great.
Like, because Tom Nook, he kind of runs different businesses in the different games, right? But or I mean, I guess it's all like home related.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, he just wants your money. He's a crook. And J. Jonah Jameson, capitalism at its worst, journalism at its worst. I feel like there's something there. Like they would see eye to eye on like, hey, we could make some money together by really doing some unethical things.
I would love.
I believe
podcast.
Tom Nook is a better person than that.
Than JJ.
I fervently believe.
What proof is there of that?
Well, he doesn't run a radio station bashing the main character of the video games.
I mean, you could argue what he's running is worse because he's like dealing with people's lives
giving
and
you
their homes.
He gave you a home that you had the choice to say yes or no to.
Not really.
And when
it's the
you
illusion of
choose to
choice.
play the video game, and when you've paid off your loan, that's it. He's not. He's a business guy, you know.
There's no interest.
He's got a bunch of
deadlines.
nephews to take care of.
He would be the secret benefactor for Jameson's podcast. Like he'd be the one keeping that afloat in the background. Like you hear him every now and then on an episode as like the silent producer or something. But
Yeah.
he knows that controversy creates cash and has no shame because again he's like the ultimate capitalist.
He's
So
saying
I think-
all PR is good PR.
Oh yeah. Oh god, yeah. That's Tom Nook. Yeah, I think he would be 1,000%. All the bells that you're paying him are going to Jameson slandering Spider-Man.
I don't believe it. Tom Nook is helping to fund museum works, helping to fund art, helping to fund
For-profit
conservation.
museums.
No, they're free.
Not donating money.
They're free.
He's like, you go pay for it.
Counterpoint: How did Timmy and Tommy Nook make any money? I feel like they just spend all their time buying stuff.
They're flipping it on eBay.
Oh, okay. They're
Yeah.
like,
Master
I got
flippers.
these 20 sea
They've
bass.
got drop shipping. They've got a drop shipping business,
Okay, yeah, that answers.
which
that.
they
They're like
learned from their uncle.
Yeah, they're the anti Todd and Rod from The Simpsons.
Totally get that.
Flanders Kids, his two sons.
Okay, I got it now. I forgot
haven't
their
seen The
names.
Simpsons.
Come on.
I forgot.
Wait, what was that, Charles? What did you just say?
Oh, nothing. I didn't say anything. I said I love.
He said he loves the Simpsons.
I love Christmas Simpsons.
Those words are similar. Yes.
I love the Christmas Simpsons.
All right.
I can't think of an answer to this question.
I like Marcus's answer. I'm going.
Marcus's
with
is a good one.
that. Yeah. Zachary Pliggy via Discord asks, 2023 has already been a massive year for amazing releases. In your mind, either objectively or subjectively, has there ever been another year in gaming that has been as good or better than this year? 2004.
Oh, wow. You were ready.
Oh yeah, 2004 is the year for
You think it's the
Alex
best
Van
year ever?
Aken.
Oh, for
let
you.
me read through some. Half-Life 2,
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, Halo
Yeah, that's a
2,
good one.
Spider-Man 2, Hitman Contracts, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Underground 2, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, Mortal Kombat Deception, Prince of Persia: Warrior Within, Need for Speed Underground 2. There's a lot more. World of Warcraft is the obvious one for me.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, Fable, Far Cry, Metroid Prime 2, Burnout 3, Super Mario 64 DS, Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow, Minish Cap for Zelda. There's a ton of stuff in 2004.
Okay. I feel like if we're going old school, like I feel like 1998 is always the one that pops up.
That's a great one.
Same with 2001.
Yeah, 2007 as well.
Yeah, 07 was great. I mean, 2017 in terms of like it's the last like bomb year,
I think
and there's been good
2023
years.
is up there with those though.
Oh, it will absolutely. By the time this year ends,
Yeah.
it has to be in the conversation. It's just
Yeah.
you know.
I think of the years I've lived, which basically just means post 2000, 2023 is my favorite so far. I personally, my favorite games of 2023 beat out my favorite games of 2017. It's done that for me, and that was the biggest contender. Other than that, I think the Besties podcast, they did one of those like brackets of like what was the best year in gaming, and then went back and played a bunch of games in I think 2007 they decided, and a lot of the games in that year were like, yeah, these were good.
Halo 3, BioShock, Galaxy.
But it was good stuff, and then they made better sequels. So looking back, it feels really good, but it's like Portal 1's good. Portal 2 is also very, very good. Mass Effect 1 is good. Mass Effect 2 is very, very good. The Witcher 1, the original Assassin's Creed,
COD 4,
a lot of stuff, and yeah.
Team Fortress
Anyways.
2. Yeah.
Still obviously very good year, but 2023 I think is my favorite so far. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a good
My
one.
number 10 game on like my top 10 list this year would have won a lot of other years in my life. Like that's just how stack is. I don't know exactly what that is. I just know so many of the games that are vying for my top spot, I would immediately play and be like I remember playing Jedi Survivor. I've said this before. Playing Jedi Survivor, being like, this feels so much like my game of the year, even though knowing like the next month or whatever that Zelda was going to come out. Yeah, so many of those.
Yeah. Last question, then we're gonna wrap up. Troidal Power on Discord asks, what's the nicest little thing that past you can do for future you? For me, it's prepping the coffee pot. Nothing makes me love myself like waking up and realizing that past me took care of all of that, so that present me can just push a button and get that sweet, warm bean juice running. Yeah, I think
that's just like recent. Like that's just like yesterday to you.
Yeah.
I thought we were going back years. I guess.
I think like when you before you go to bed doing the dishes, that's something I've been trying to do.
Was thinking that was the exact thing was going to be my answer.
Because when you wake up to a fresh kitchen, it's really good feeling. I'm really bad at
Easier
that.
to cook breakfast too.
Easier to cook breakfast too, yeah.
I didn't cook breakfast today because it's a mess, and I was like, I don't have the mental energy to.
But if you do it tonight, then tomorrow's version of you. Yeah. I'm also a fan of like setting a timer for 20 minutes and getting as much cleaning as you can get done within that timer as possible, and doing it in small increments so it feels less overwhelming when you have a messy house. Especially when like I've been traveling for work a lot this year, and like the amount of suitcases that are just like on my floors. Because obviously I have personal travel too and stuff like that. It can get a lot, but yeah. Do you have one, Marcus?
I don't think. I was thinking about like going back years and years. Like you do something, because you'd be like, oh, I don't know, buy some stock in Apple. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Back in like 2005 or something.
That's roguelike life.
It would have been great if I bet on the Jets in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just go full Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Sports almanac. If we're going more like, I would say mundane, but like the simpler things. I mean, it's hard. I'm not saying this to brag, but I've gotten very good about like taking care of myself and,
Wow, you're so full of yourself.
I work out regularly. I clean like regularly. I eat pretty well generally.
Marcus's soulmate, if you're out there listening to this podcast. Marcus is playing himself up. He's ready.
There we go. I'm just saying my dating profile. You know what? Maybe like encouragement. If you go back, like maybe after, or if you're in the middle of doing something really hard, or you're about to do something hard, and in the moment, sometimes you get in your own head about like, or at least I do, about like, oh crap, I'm gonna be able to do this or as well as I think, because I can be a notorious perfectionist, especially with my work, and that can veer into like not great territory, because then you wind up like not doing it as well because you're so worried about getting it right the first time.
Yeah.
And then like past me reminding myself that it's okay, like it'll be fine, because it's always fine at the end of the day. Like it always comes out well, and it's not going to be any different. So like, it's like if you had like a time device where you could set past versions of yourself almost like an alarm clock, like, okay, I'm going to record this message. I guess you could just do that with a video camera. Like I'm going to record this message now. And then leave a note like, watch this tomorrow. I guess you could technically do all this with your phone. Now that I'm thinking about it, like you just
the future is now.
Marcus
like we've had this technology. Yeah, like it's like Memento, but more effective and more wholesome than the
It's
movie
like
Memento.
a calendar.
Yeah, it's like, hey, watch me, and then you watch and you see yourself from yesterday being like, hey man, you're doing good. You got this. Don't stress. It doesn't.
If it's
not
that,
gonna be
I would probably
perfect.
I'd be like, shut up, dude.
Just no content, just to shut the hell up, Alex.
Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about, man. You're
You know what I'm talking about. You're so much younger than I am.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
You don't know what I had to go
like
through.
To wake up this morning.
Yeah.
If I could, I would slap you.
Yeah.
I can only scream at you in a recording. So,
Just screaming at yourself.
I like the idea of you watching videos yourself every morning and
then,
screaming at yourself.
You film a new video. I would film a new video yelling at my future self. And then it would go down this cycle of, oh man, I just got yelled at by my past self. Let me be kinder to my future self. And then it'd be like, hey man, it's okay. And then again, the next day, you'd be like, shut the hell up.
I'm sorry I screamed at you yesterday.
Yeah.
It's something your wife's gonna get used to is you screaming at random intervals every day.
My soulmate accepts me for that, though. You know.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's what they're good for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's gonna be it for today's episode. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We appreciate your support. Don't forget to go pick up single issues of Game Informer magazine. For all the past issues were $5.99. Going forward with issue 360, they are $7.99. Don't worry, it's worth it. A lot of great stuff in those pages. You can grab those books, those magazines at GameStop.com/GameInformer. Scroll down the page a bit, you'll see all our current issues. Or you can go to a local GameStop and purchase it there. Stay tuned in the future for other ways to grab that kind of stuff. But yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.